Well, hey guys, Janine here, and I know I haven't seen you guys in forever, and I apologize. I just don't get to upload all that frequently or even craft or film very often because I do have a full-time job that is very demanding. I work 10 to 12 hours a day every day, so it can be a bit much. But anyway, I saw this hack. This is from Missy over at Creations by Miss, and I'll link her original video showing this technique below. But here's the thing. Her whole point of her video is using what you have, repurposing to get to use techniques, but using what you have for those techniques. So this is going to be a foiling technique. And so I'm taking her thought process of, she used Pops of Color by scrapbooking.com. I don't have those. But what I do have is other water-based glue type substances. So I'm going to try her technique, but using 3 different products I have, and see if I can achieve the same results that she achieved using Pops of Color by scrapbooking.com to foil with. And so she demonstrated with a clear stamp, which I have here, as well as with rubber stamps, which I have right here. Now, she had those different colored pops of color, which the glues that I'm using aren't colored. So I'm going to try a couple of different things to color the glue so that I can see what I'm working with. So I've got a black liquid watercolor here. This is Dandelion Paints, and you can find them over at letsmakeart.com. But I've also just got a re-inker from Concord and Ninth, and this is Grasshopper. And the reason I'm using this one is not because I feel like it'll show up better or anything like that. Honestly, it's not an ink pad that I use very often. I've got this re-inker, and you can see I've never even opened it. So I don't want to waste supplies that I'm actually using for other things, you know, for this experiment to test things out. So since this is an ink that I don't use very frequently, I'm going to try and use this as a color as well. And the reason she recommended those the darker colored pops of color is so that you can see them on your stamp and make sure that you've got everything inked up well, so to speak. To say inked up is a little bit of a play on words, I guess you could say, because we're not inking, we're gluing, sort of, kind of. So anyway, so that's the colorants I'm going to use. Now, the 3 different products I'm going to be testing out. I've got this Elmer's Craft Bond all-purpose glue, which is easy enough to find and inexpensive. Art Glitter Glue. And then I am going to be using a product that's meant for foiling, and I'm just curious to see how well it will work for stamping. So it's basically just what the other things are. It's a liquid adhesive. And so I'm going to try this 2 different inkers to see if they work well to color the glue so that I can see what I'm doing. And I think that's the biggest point of it, is just so you can see what you're doing. And then I've got this little silicone mat. This is from Stampin' Up. So I'm going to use this because it'll be easy enough to clean up when we're done. The foils I'm using are actually some that I found really inexpensive online. I don't recall, honestly, if it was from Amazon or Temu, but they were inexpensive. These are the 3 I pulled out to use to demonstrate with. But the pack I got, pretty sure it was from Temu, had a whole bunch of rolls in different colors and different metallics. But I'm going to be doing this on darker cardstock like this black, and I've also got a navy that I'm going to be working on, and I was hoping that would make it easier to see on camera. The other thing is, I don't have an expensive, nice laminator. I have a Scotch laminator that I got at Walmart for less than $20. It's what I have, so it's what I'm working with, and I have it heating up, and I have it set to 5 mil because that is the hottest setting that it has. All right, so let's get started. Now, she said with the clear stamps, you don't have to wet them first. She did recommend wetting the rubber stamps first before doing this technique. But she said with the clear stamps, you didn't need to do that. So I've already got it set up here. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. She used a Spellbinder stamping wheel. I'm using a Misty stamping platform. Again, this is all about working with what I have on hand and seeing if I can make her technique work with the products that I have. So I think I'm going to start with the Elmer's craft glue. Oh, the other thing she said to use was an ink blender that had a kind of firm foam rounded dome blending brush, or blender. She said this particular type of blender works the best with that dome top instead of a flat top. I've got plenty of those. Once you use it for this technique, you're not going to be able to use it for anything else. You may or may not be able to clean the glue out of it and reuse it. So I'm going to put down a modest amount, not a terribly large amount, but, and see, this is quite thick, so I think this is going to work well for this technique. Got an air bubble. Because the pops of color are very thick. I don't know about the art glitter glue because I think it's a little bit thinner. And I've got paper towels handy too. I've got paper towels handy, some water, a toothbrush for scrubbing in the stamps, and some wet wipes for quick cleanup. And she also used these to wet her rubber stamps with before she applied the glue. So let's go ahead and get all that stuff ready. Alright, let's try the Dandelion Paints Black. And that's the color I chose because I just figured it would really be the easiest to see. I'm going to start with one drop and see if that colors that glue enough, because I don't want to water it down. Oh, I forgot to bring something to mix it up with. Now I've got to try and find something real quick. Oh, hey, how about this? How about just the end of a paintbrush? That should work plenty good enough. Now, let's see. I'm a little nervous here, because this almost seems too thick, but I think this works better if the dabbing didn't seem like that was working too well. And she said you want it on there, you don't want it too thinly on there, because then it'll stick to your paper. I don't know what I was thinking using black on black cardstock. Sometimes I question my own sanity. Let's see. I forgot to bring my pressing tool in here with me. That actually looks pretty decent. I see on the tail, I know that might be hard for you guys to see, but I can see that it didn't ink up the tail very well, or maybe I didn't press it very well. Now, she didn't say in her video whether or not she let this dry before she ran it through a laminator. I'm going to assume so. Otherwise, you would just have a wet mess and some... I'm thinking this glue is maybe just a little too thick. And I don't know if it's because it's just naturally that thick or because mine is a little on the old side. So I think that probably the smartest thing to do is to let this dry before running it through your laminator. Because again, I don't think that really wet glue is going to adhere to foil. Just my personal opinion. And I am still not getting a good impression. This was honestly a cheapo stamp I got from Temu. It's beautiful, but it is kind of a peel to stamp with. I probably should have picked a better one for this. My thought process was, though, honestly, I did not want to ruin a good expensive stamp, so I picked a cheap one. And sometimes I think my Misty has some dead spots. Honestly, if I press from the bottom, it helps. And I am using a waffle flower sticky mat underneath to help. That's a little bit better. Okay, if this doesn't come out good, it's mostly going to be because of the stamp, not because of the technique. Yeah, see, this is starting to get gunky on my stamp, so I think it's time to call it quits and go ahead and clean the stamp off before it becomes problematic. Yeah, I'm starting to get spider webs of glue. Okay, let's go ahead and call that quits on this one. I don't think this was the best stamp to do this with. But again, I did not want to ruin a good stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. But I can see where, yeah, I'm afraid all these little spider webs from the glue are going to foil as well. But it actually stamped pretty good. I was just having issues right here around the bird's belly and on the end of the tail. And then some of this lighter stuff in this area here. So, but we're going to set that aside and let that dry. And I think I'm going to switch to a rubber stamp. I think the other thing that's going to be really important here is working with water-based glues. You don't want anything that is going to be too terribly hard to clean out of your stamps. So I'm going to use her suggestion and use a toothbrush to really scrub in there. Not a toothbrush I'm still using, mind you. Oh yeah, that definitely helps get all the glue out of the little crevices of the stamp. Okay, so I got everything cleaned up. Got my stamp and my paper reoriented. And I mixed up some more glue and colorant. So let's try this again and see if we can't get this done a little more quickly with a thicker amount of the medium on the stamp. That one thing she did say, work quickly and get lots but not a dripping amount of product on your stamp, or else it will stick to your paper, as we just witnessed. Okay, and that we can do this more than once, so we don't have to get it all on in one try. Ooh, it just about pulled my paper up. So again, we're having some issues with the tail and the belly of the bird and a little bit of the flower on this side, which I normally have problems with this stamp in those areas. So again, it's a cheap stamp. It's probably not even photopolymer. I would imagine it's silicone, which just doesn't stamp as well. So I'm just going to make sure. And again, sometimes I have to press from underneath my Misty. It just has some dead spots. Still having issues around the tail. All the rest of it looks good. But the belly right here and the tail is still having some issues. But I don't think I can ink up just part of it, because again, I think it'll stick if I do that. So let's go ahead and I just can't get, let me move my magnets. That helped. My magnets may be a little too thick for this platform. All right, but not too bad overall. So we're going to set that aside and let it dry and clean this stamp up. Okay, so I know I said we were moving on to a different stamp, but I do want to continue with this just so that I can give each one of these mediums a fair shot with the same product. So let's try now with the Deco Foil liquid adhesive and see. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use that Grasshopper re-inker, just so again we can have a little bit of variance between the products. Okay. So I can tell the difference when I'm foiling. Now this I can tell you might get a little expensive. I'm hoping that one of these other glue mediums, and I might test out, because I also have some matte Mod Podge, which is price wise you can't beat it for an adhesive. So I think for trying a technique like this, you know, an adhesive that you could get fairly inexpensively and get the same results out of would be ideal. So we're going to try some matte Mod Podge too before this is over with. I tell you though, but if we find that one product that just is cost effective, already have it on hand, and works well, I think this little experiment will be a success. Okay. I tell you, my sponge just soaked that up. Uh-oh. Houston, we have a problem. Ooh, this one is sticky, guys. I don't know if this is going to be our best. Yeah. And this is one of the things that Missy warned about, was if it sticks to your paper, you're going to get bits of paper in your stamp, and it's going to be hard to clean. So I'm not going any further with that. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this Deco Foil adhesive is maybe too sticky for this, because I did put it on there pretty thick. So I'm going to say this already for this particular type of application is not the right product. I will try it a little bit more to see if I can make it work, but I'm worried at this point now of not being able to get this mess out of... No, I can't do it. My stamp's already moved out of place. Never mind. We're going to go ahead and say this product is not going to be our best application method. Okay, guys, so I'm set up again. This time with the rubber stamps. And I can't remember, I went ahead and put the black mat that came with the Misty back in it, because it's not as thick, I don't think, as the Waffle Flower grip mat. So I think this is the way you do it for, maybe not. Maybe I'm supposed to do without the grip, the black mat for rubber stamps. Honestly, I just don't remember, but this seems like it's going to work fine. So, all right, as per Missy's instructions, I'm going to use a wet wipe to moisten the stamps. I don't recall if she said why in the her video, but I'm going to go ahead and follow directions and do what she said. Okay, and I'm going to do the same combination. So I'm going to do the black liquid watercolor with the Elmer's Craft Bond. This stuff is so thick. But I think this time I'm going to water this glue down a little bit more. Just because I feel like it might be just a tad too thick. Kind of like the Deco Foil. That seems like a better consistency to me. Be a little easier to work with, I hope. I really couldn't tell you if this is because this is the regular consistency of this glue, why it's like this, kind of got the spiderwebby type property to it, or if it's because it's old, because it is kind of old, honestly. I started working with matte Mod Podge, and I stopped working with glues that had a glossiness to them, because that glossiness, if you get some outside of, you know, whatever you're gluing down, it shows. It's so obvious, and the matte Mod Podge just kind of blends in a little bit better. Just my personal opinion. So I clean my sponge off again. I go ahead and get plenty of this product on my sponge. It's dabbing on a little easier now that I've thinned it out. And if this works out, the reason I'm doing so many stamps is because if this works out, I'm going to use these to put on card fronts. I'm always making Christmas cards. I make Christmas cards all year long. Okay, yeah, no, I'm still going to have to... And it pulls the... from what I can see here, it's kind of pulling the glue off of the surface. So I think I'm going to try not make so many passes and just get a goodly amount down in one pass. See, like right there, it just doesn't seem to me like it's inking that well. I don't know that this craft bond is going to be our glue, guys. So far, the art glitter glue is the one that's winning. Okay. Yep. I don't think we're going to get good results with this. We're going to keep going, though. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be very good. It looks terrible. Alright, put that aside and let it dry and get these stamps cleared off before this mess dries on them. Okay, I am set up to go again. I am going to I had some matte Mod Podge already in a little glue bottle, so I just poured some out here, used some of my black dandelion liquid watercolor, and cleaned my sponge off. So we're ready to go again. So as per Missy's instructions, going to wet my stamps. And we're going to try this matte Mod Podge. I might be putting it on too thick. It's getting into the crevices too much, I think, to get a good clean impression. Let me take some of that up. I just feel like that's too much. I don't think I'm going to give it as much pressure this time. Okay, this actually is looking pretty good, guys. So if you, I think, let's see how it foils, but as of right now, just the way it's stamping out, this matte Mod Podge, I think it's a nice liquidy consistency. I'm so sorry, I lost my train of thought. My husband keeps coming in and interrupting me, and I keep losing my place and what my thought process is. But if this medium foils well, I can tell you right now, matte Mod Podge is a very inexpensive water-based adhesive. Okay, wow, that is looking really pretty good. And you can see why a stamping platform is necessary. Now, it keeps sticking to the paper, but so far it's not pulling bits of the paper onto the stamp itself. Just this one stamp just doesn't really want to quite catch, and then a little bit right here. But again, I'm afraid to not do everything for fear it won't right there is where I was having a little bit of issues. Okay. Alright, still having a little trouble with the, I don't know if you can see it, the G right here. I'm still having a little trouble with it. So I think I just need to put it a little bit thicker, but I was afraid of doing it too thick because then I don't feel like it's getting a good impression. So I'm going to set that aside. And now we're going to test the Art Glitter Glue because I think I'm pretty much done with the Deco Foil, liquid adhesive, and the Elmer's Craft Bond. I just don't feel like those things are giving us the results that we're looking for. They're just too thick and too sticky, and I'm not getting a good clean stamping with them. Okay, we are set up again with the Art Glitter Glue, the Grasshopper re-inker ink, and our red rubber stamps. And these are, I forgot to tell you, these are Stampin' Up! Stamps. They are beautiful. I love them. And again, I'm going to try and get a lot on there, but not dripping wet, I guess is the best way to say it. Because I feel like it goes too much into the cracks and crevices. If it's like that one, just I think was a little too much, but trying to get a lot on there, like she said, so that the stamp doesn't stick to the paper, but it feels like it gets a blurry image if you get too much on there. So trying to find that balance has been a little rough, but I think not pressing too hard helps as well. And it keeps wanting to pull my paper up. But again, that's the beauty of using a stamping platform. Hopefully, that'll keep us from getting a blurry image. I just feel like I'm getting too much on there. And trying to do it fast. It's a little bit of a challenge, I can't lie. But if we can get to a place where we can use products we have on hand and get beautiful foiling results with them, I feel like it's worth the trouble to figure out what mediums you already have that could work for you in this way. Yeah, I can already tell you I'm going to have some blurriness in this one because I feel like I'm getting too much and then not enough all at the same time, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I'm getting a lot and it's going into the crevices of the stamp, but on the high points of the stamp, it doesn't feel like it's nearly enough. So this is, as compared to the other mediums we've done so far, so the Craft Bond and the Deco Foil are super, super thick and really sticky, which made them hard to work with. The Art Glitter Glue, when we did the bird stamp, did pretty good. But on this red rubber stamp is not so much. Okay, we are set up again. This time we're using the matte Mod Podge with photopolymer stamps. And I think I'm going to try the Art Glitter Glue with the photopolymer stamps as well. I was just having a lot of trouble with that silicone stamp. And it usually is problematic to stamp out because it is silicone. But, you know, it is what it is. It was cheap. But anyway, I just want to give all these mediums a fair shot. And so I can give you an idea of the types of things that'll work. Like thinner or thicker or So far, to me, the color hasn't seemed to matter too much in the final results, as far as whether or not I'm using a re-inker or liquid watercolor. Hasn't seemed to matter that much in the final results. I think what is trickier is trying to get a hang of the application of like what's too much product and what's not quite enough. The amount of pressure to use, yada, 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 that's all. But I think definitely you're going to want to do this with a stamping platform. So that way, if your paper does move, you can get it back in the same position it was in. And I forgot to put my sticky mat back in here. I just left the black mat. I tell you, the Mod Podge seems to give me the best results as far as hanging on to the product. And I did think I got a little bit too much. Oh my gosh, I can't talk today. I did get a little bit too much in the crevices, so I'm going to try and go a little bit lighter handed. And I'm trying to be careful with my pressure. I'm afraid I put too much pressure on and it picks up too much of the product that's in the crevices of the stamps, and then gives me a fuzzy stamped image. Now the good news is it's sticking to the paper, but it's not tearing the paper, pulling any of the paper into the stamp. So that's a good thing. Oh, doggone it. Well, I didn't put my paper back in the exact same place. I tell you, it's even with a stamping platform. And let me try that again with a fresh sheet of paper. Okay, that's better. Let me go ahead and label that again. All right, one more cleanup and reset up, and then we'll foil. This time we're going to go back to the art glitter glue, but this time with the photopolymer stamps. So, art glitter glue, photopolymer stamps. Let's see what happens. Working quickly. Trying not to get too much in the crevices. So what I can tell you that I've learned so far with this is, if you're going to use this type of applicator, which I do recommend you do, go ahead and do a bunch at one time, because you're going to throw this away. So, you know, that's going to be a bit of a waste. But you are definitely going to be putting this sponge in the trash when you're done. It will not be good for using anything else. You can try and rehabilitate it by washing it with hot soap and water. That may work. I just don't feel like you're going to... No, still sticking. Oh, gosh. Ooh, that one stuck pretty bad. I don't think I used enough. Anyway. So, if you're going to do this, if you're going to try out different adhesive mediums that you have on hand, I would say definitely go ahead and do a bunch at one time when you find the one that works for you, because you will be throwing this sponge away. So why not just go ahead and make it an afternoon session of foiling, stamping and foiling. So I just don't think I'm working fast enough. So when you throw that away, you don't have to feel so bad about it, because I promise you, you're going to throw it away. And again, I think one of the big things is just going to be testing the mediums, figuring out which ones work for you. Once you get that down and you get like how much product to apply, how long to press it down, how long, you know, just everything. Again, do a whole crafty afternoon session, because you're going to go through a lot of product. I can tell you, It's not a lot of glue that I'm putting down to do this, but it is when you consider that you wouldn't need nearly that much ink to stamp up these stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and clean my entire work surface up. My laminating machine shut down on me. So I've got to get it heated back up. This took a little longer than I anticipated. So once I get my area cleaned up and ready for foiling, we'll be back. Okay guys, we are ready to see how this stuff foils. Now, one of the things we need to take into consideration is the foil I'm using came from Temu. Lord only knows if it's any kind of decent quality. And then again, I'm using this really inexpensive laminator, which should work fine. I have foiled a little bit with it before with some success. I just didn't want to spend a lot of money on a laminator and then find out I'm really not going to use it. And honestly, to date, I haven't used it much, so I just haven't seen the value in buying like a the Gina K foiler or the Heidi Swap. Anyway, so we're going to start with the Elmer's Craft Bond. This is the one and only image I was able to get done nicely with the Elmer's Craft Bond. It did actually stamp out fairly nicely with that bird stamp, silicone stamp. And that's just the thing. The silicone stamps are a little bit harder to work with. They're doable. You can absolutely make them work, but you know, it is what it is. Okay, and this laminator is so cheap, and it feeds from the back, which is extraordinarily weird. And sometimes getting it going is challenging. So if this works out and I feel like it's something I will continue to do, then I might upgrade to a nicer laminator. But for right now, as little as I foil, this has been sufficient. But again, I haven't really had anything. I don't have a laser printer. I don't have any of the products from like Pink and Main or Gina K with the polyglaze or the toner sheets. So I don't really have anything to foil. But this could be a game changer. If I can find one of the glue mediums that I already have that works well for foiling, then this might be something I do more often. It might be worth upgrading to a better laminator for. Okay, and then again, this is Temu foil, so I mean, I've had some success foiling with it, but not so much. But I did bring out a piece of Art Deco foil just in case, just to see if it really makes any difference. All right, let's see how this looks. This one was the Elmer's Craft Bond, and holy smokes, there is some places where it missed a little bit, but I think that has more to do with the stamp. But still, that's pretty stinking good. And that's with a really inexpensive foil. So the stamp, I think, has more to do with those results than anything. Alrighty. Let's see what we have next. Okay, so we've got Matte Mod Podge. This is the one I think, it was the easiest to stamp with. It was the easiest medium to work with. So let's see if it foils. And I did make my own carrier sheet with some parchment paper. The carrier sheet that this particular laminator came with was not, I just wasn't getting good results with it. Well, I can see where there's some stickage here, so let's see. Oh, wow, that's pretty. That's beautiful. I do believe I'll be cutting these out with some dies and using that on card. That came out beautiful. I hope you can see that. Matte Mod Podge, it works. That's good to know. Okay, which one haven't we tested yet? Let's see. Let's try something in a different foil. Okay, art glitter glue. Okay, this is with a silicone stamp. This was with rubber stamps. Or no. No, this one was with photopolymer stamps. I want to do one that we did with the rubber stamps. Honestly, I had more trouble with the rubber stamps. Oh, the deco foil. That's the one I'll try next. That's the one I had the most trouble with, was the deco foil. Oh, that's pretty good. Now you can see this was the art glitter glue, and you can see where it got into the crevices of the stamp, and so we didn't really get a good clean stamp impression with it. But still not bad, it worked. I mean, the foil really stuck to it, so, I mean, it's a winner. I think it's just going to take a little more practice with consistency of product and application. All right, and here comes the deco foil adhesive. And again, this one was with the silicone bird stamp. Again, the stamping could have had something to do with this because of the stamp I was using, but I can tell you this was the adhesive I enjoyed working with the least. It was just so thick and sticky, it was hard to work with. So this, I'm not saying it wouldn't work for stamping, but there might need to be a different application method to use it with stamps. But I did not get great results with it, and it was not fun to work with at all. Okay, I want to see one with the rubber stamp because I had more trouble with the rubber stamp. Okay, so this is one of the art glitter glue ones. This is one of the ones that I think, yeah, the paper shifted on me, so kind of got a double stamping there. But I think the matte Mod Podge, I think out of all of them, was the easiest medium to work with. That and the art glitter glue, they were pretty close. The matte Mod Podge has a better price point. You get more of it for cheaper. And it doesn't appear that the foil makes much difference. We're going to foil one with a little bit better quality foil just to see if there's any actual difference. But I think the foil is okay. I think it really just has to do with the medium and the technique with the stamping with the medium. Okay, we got some results coming up. Let's see how this looks. I tell you, if that hadn't been double stamped, that would be absolutely gorgeous. But you can see where my paper moved on me. But the art glitter glue and the matte Mod Podge for sure, definitely giving really good results. Okay, so let's switch foils here. This is another one with the art glitter glue. Let's try it with some Art Deco foil and see if the type of foil makes any difference. Okay, somebody give me some tips on cutting foil because I really don't like cutting the foil up. It's kind of a pain. And I see people on YouTube and they do it. It's so, their pieces of foil are so perfect and neat. And when they, even when they're working with a roll, it's, anyway, please leave me some comments below about how to cut foil. I would love to know your techniques. Oh, that's gorgeous. I might actually fussy cut that out and put it on a card. That is beautiful. This was the art glitter glue. And this was using a little bit better foil. Let's see when that came out good. I mean, this is more of a matte, so it's kind of hard to compare, but I mean, I honestly don't see a huge amount of difference. I don't think the foil, I mean, this one maybe looks just a tad better. I'm sorry, I didn't know if you could see that, but yeah, this is with the Deco foil and this is with the Temu foil. And this, again, this one was more of a matte finish and this one was more of a shiny finish, so that is going to make it look a little different. But honestly, I don't see enough difference to justify paying extra for a brand name foil. And they have fairly similar texture. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Let's see, what haven't we done yet? Oh, yes. Okay, so now we've got another one with the, and I dropped this on the floor after I, so we've got a couple pieces of glitter stuck in it that it picked up off the floor. This is the Elmer's Craft Bond again with a red rubber stamp. Honestly, I was having a little more trouble with the red rubber stamps than with the photopolymer and the silicone stamp. It just seemed like the glue wasn't wanting to stick to the high points on the stamp. I'm not sure why. Yeah, this one double stamped. It was just, this was the Elmer's Craft Bond again, and it's, even though I watered it down a little bit, it was still difficult to work with. Okay, one more. And this is the matte Mod Podge with a red rubber stamp. Oh, wow. That's really pretty. These could go on cards, too. This is the matte Mod Podge with a red rubber stamp. So I think, and you see where I was having some trouble getting the medium to stick to the stamp, but overall it's still really pretty. And any one of these, for the most part, these could be used on cards. Again, a little bit more practice. This is my first time doing this, and even still, I achieved some results that I could use on a card. Just if I'm going to sit here and compare, the Art Glitter Glue did give some pretty good results. I had more issues with it getting down in the crevices of the stamps. But you can see this one this one with Art Glitter Glue is beautiful. And this is the one I use the better foil on too, but that's beautiful results. I think the one that was the easiest to work with by far was the Matte Mod Podge. And you can see I achieved beautiful results with it. Again, was having some issues getting it to stick to the high points, but still got stamps I can use, or images that I can use on a card. The Elmer's Craft Bond, pretty difficult to work with. Although these results aren't bad, had I been able to get that tail stamped out better, you know, this isn't bad. This could be used on a card too. I might could just put another element kind of over where the tail would be, and maybe disguise some of that. But moral of the story, so as Missy pointed out, you can use the Pops of Color by scrapbooking.com, but there are also a lot of other mediums that you can use on your stamps and then foil to get foiled effects and be able to get more mileage and more use out of your stamps, both your photopolymer and your red rubber stamps. So I encourage you to give it a try. You know, whatever liquid adhesives you have, you know, try stamping with them. Try using, if you have colored ones, if you don't, color them. And because I can say that did make it a little easier to be able to see where the medium was on the stamp and where it wasn't. So if you've got re-inkers, use your re-inkers to color your mediums and try it, because this was my first go of it. And I've got some images here I could actually use on cards. Not every one of them, but that's okay. I learned a lot. I learned what mediums I liked working with that I have on hand and which ones I didn't. Which ones gave me beautiful finished results and which ones didn't so much. So there you go. I say go for it. Again, Missy's video is going to be linked below where she used the Pops of Color by scrapbook.com. So go check out her original video and get more tips and tricks from her. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye. Well, guys, I've got a bonus reel for you. I was curious what would happen if I took a piece of the black cardstock, one of the pieces that didn't come out so good and I didn't bother foiling, and went ahead and used one of the leftover bird images. What I did with that black cardstock on the other side, I coated it with Art Glitter Glue, let it dry, and then ran one of the bird images on top to see if it would stick, and it did. And then I did this extra little piece of holographic. I was hoping it would fill in the bird and the flower, but it did not. But look how cool that is. And at first I was a little disappointed that it showed all the brush strokes, you know, from where I put the glue on. But then honestly, I got to look at it and I thought, well, you know, that's kind of neat looking. But it did not pick up the holographic silver in the bird or the flower. But still pretty cool looking and can be used on a card. Thanks for watching. Bye.